A670. So I'm going to walk you through today's lesson. The topic of today's lesson is going to be on Texas annexation. This is also a topic that we've already covered in school. So as I've stated before, we finished this unit. So we're just going to revisit some topics before we dive into the next unit. All right, so this should be familiar to all of you, but I'm just gonna go through it real quick. So this was the United States in 1820, right? And as you all know, the United States in history uh, was not the size as it is right now. So at this point in history, in 1820, all of this territory was the United States, and this was Mexico's territory, which was controlled by Spain before Mexico got their independence from Spain. And this was Aragon territory, which is disputed by Britain. So only this land right here in white really belongs to the United States. So Americans come to Texas. In 1821, Stephen Austin's father died, leaving him a large piece of land he had obtained from Spain. Austin was given permission by Spanish officials to start an American colony in Spanish Texas. He promised to choose only honest and hardworking settlers to bring to his colony. So I've told you all this before. Um, Texas, at one point in time, was not a part of the United States, right? Texas was actually controlled by Mexico. It was part of Mexico at one point, right? And Stephen Austin, right? He wanted to start his own American colony in Spanish Texas. So he brought some Americans over there to bring to his colony. So Stephen Austin was about to make his father's dream a reality. American settlers had big plans for the colony. So, as we all know, Spain controlled Mexico and they allowed a U.S. colony to settle in Spanish Texas. So, who was Stephen Austin? He started a colony of Americans in Texas. Americans come to Texas. Many Americans felt Texas was valuable because much of the region was perfect for growing the South's most valuable crop, cotton. Cotton takes a lot of nutrients from the soil, so many plantation owners were looking for more land where cotton could grow. Many Americans felt that Texas would be a great addition to the United States someday. So settlers wanted more land for growing cotton. Next slide. By the time Austin and his settlers arrived, Mexico had declared their independence from Spain. Mexico now controlled the region where Austin's colony was located. The new Mexican government wanted Austin's colony to respect Mexico and made him promise the settlers would become Mexican citizens and join the Catholic Church. So, this new Mexican government, they wanted Austin and all his people to promise that they would become citizens and join the Catholic Church. It said, if you're going to come here, you have to respect our rules. So, Stephen Austin agreed to those terms, and by 1827, nearly 300 families had come to live in the Mexican state of Texas. So news of that successful colony spread, and by 1830, there were over 25,000 Americans in Texas. Remember, originally it was a Spanish territory, and only Mexicans were there. So they greatly outnumbered the Tejanos. Those were the Texans of Mexican descent, the original Mexicans that were there. So tensions began to rise between the groups. And this was especially after Mexico banned slavery in 1829. So Tejanos were not happy that so many American settlers had come to Texas. They felt that Austin's colony had grown too large. And the settlers didn't fulfill that promise by becoming Mexican citizens. So Mexican responded by closing Texas to further immigration. They didn't allow anyone else to come in. Troops from Mexico's army arrived to guard the border and enforce Mexico's laws. So they put troops at the border to make sure nobody else would come in. So this got American settlers angry, right? Because no more American settlers could come in. So Mexico declared its independence from Spain, and as we can see, they closed Texas to further immigration. They did not allow any more people to come in. So then tensions began to rise between American settlers and the Tejanos. So Stephen Austin went to Mexico's leader in 1833 to request that Mexico make Texas a separate Mexican state so that they could run their own affairs. Right? Stephen Austin wanted Texas to be its own state with their own laws. But Mexico's power-hungry dictator, his name was Santa Anna, had Austin thrown in jail. In 1835, after Austin was released from jail, Texas revolted. They fought back. Santa Anna marched north with 6,000 troops to determine to crush the rebellion. So as we can see, this is Stephen Austin. He's locked up here. He simply said, "We would like to govern our state of Texas." And he says, "Guards, lock him up." Right? So in February of 1836, Santa Anna's army arrived in San Antonio, Texas. The Texas Army had left 180 volunteers to defend the town, while they went ahead to prepare for the upcoming battles. The defenders took refuge in the old Spanish mission building called the Alamo. Santa Anna demanded every Texan surrender or expect no mercy. The defenders replied by firing their cannon at Santa Anna and his army. Messengers were sent to nearby towns to try to get help. So this was in what was called the Battle of the Alamo. It was a 13-day battle in San Antonio and no one survived. So reinforcements never arrived. The defenders at the Alamo fought the Mexican troops with guns and cannons for 12 days. On March 6, 1836, Santa Anna ordered his men to storm the fort. The battle lasted 90 minutes. Santa Anna ordered every one of the town's defenders to be executed or killed. When word reached the Texas Army, led by Sam Houston, the Texans were filled with rage over Santa Anna's brutality. So the people in Texas, they were angry that Santa Anna was so brutal and violent. He killed everyone, right? He says, "Remember the Alamo." Sam Houston, the commander of the Texas Revolution Army. Sam Houston led the Texas Army deeper into Texas to make it more difficult for Santa Anna to resupply and keep his army ready. His plan worked when the Texas Army lured Santa Anna to the San Jacinto River. Santa Anna marched his troops through the night, expecting the Texas Army to attack at dawn. After there was no attack, he and his troops stopped to rest. Houston's troops staged a surprise attack later in the afternoon, yelling, "Remember the Alamo." So basically, Sam Houston, he caught Santa Anna's army sleeping, right? They caught them by surprise. So the Texas Army won that battle, the Battle of San Jacinto. Santa Anna fled. He ran away, but he was captured the next day. In exchange for his release, he was forced to sign a treaty, an agreement recognizing Texas as an independent nation and ordering all Mexican troops out of Texas. So they captured him, and he said, "Okay, you release me. We'll release you, but under these conditions. We'll release you if you recognize Texas as an independent nation." And remember, that's what Sam Houston wanted in the beginning, right? And he ordered all Mexican troops out of Texas. So Texans revolted, and they officially won independence from Mexico. And they officially became the Texas Republic. But Santa Anna never fully accepted that loss of Texas as a territory. But Texas was now an independent country, formerly called the Texas Republic, but nicknamed the Lone Star Republic. And they elected Sam Houston to be their leader. Texas annexation. So many Texans were Americans, and they hoped that Texas would become part of the United States. Southerners wanted Texas as a slave state. Northerners, who opposed slavery, fought to keep Texans out, to keep Texas out. So remember, the Southerners, they wanted Texas to be a slave state. They wanted to use slaves for labor, but Northerners, they were against slavery, so they did not want to have Texas as an American state. as part of the United States. So Texas remained an independent country for 10 years until President James K. Polk was elected. He urged Congress to annex Texas. In 1845, Texas was admitted as the 28th state of the United States. So remember, at this point in time, the United States was still not what it is today, right? At that time, they only had 28 states. James K. Polk, the president of the U.S., he officially made Texas a state. All right, next slide. Although Texans had fought a war with Santa Anna to win their independence, the United States gained the Texas annexation through a peaceful treaty with the Texas Republic. The U.S. was not done fulfilling its vision for Manifest Destiny. Meanwhile, Santa Anna refused to recognize Texas was no longer a part of Mexico. So once again, Santa Anna, he does not want to take the L. He's refusing to recognize that Texas is not a part of Mexico anymore. All right, so that is it for the Texas annexation. Hopefully this gave you some background knowledge on the topic. And for this lesson, the reading is going to be right here. And this is going to be done independently. I want you to try to read this on your own. It's not a long text at all. And these 5 questions are going to be your classwork. And for homework, there's going to be a short response question that I'm going to post in assessments that's based on this text. So that is all.